TW Wrestling Talk here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever applies to you. We're in closing out the month of February here already. Here in 2013, almost already 2 months into the year. And we're almost, we're within 5 weeks or so of WrestleMania 29. Which we are heading towards full steam ahead. We have a good idea now of about 3 or 4 of the big matches that are going to take place. It's becoming obvious now the direction that WWE is heading. With essentially the top guys in the industry. In the WWE. It's become obvious now that John Cena is going to face The Rock in what is has been nicknamed as twice in a lifetime. We after his win against Cena-Punk, which I'm going to discuss a little later. It's clear he's gonna, it's clear at this point that the plan was to have them face one-on-one. And this most likely means that CM Punk is going to end up facing The Undertaker. So right there, that gives you probably 2 matches right off the bat, big matches that we're going to see at WrestleMania this year. On top of that, Triple H came back last night, and attacked Brock Lesnar. Had what became a bloody brawl, which I'll also talk about in a moment. So it appears obvious now that they're going to have a rematch there. And then of course, Jack Swagger was on Raw this past week, and so therefore, I was talking last week, TW Wrestling Talk, if we could possibly see, some discipline here on what happened with Jack Swagger last week with his marijuana possession and driving under the influence. But it appears that it's not going to be a factor here with WWE. Seems like they're keeping that under wraps. So that match appears to be the World Heavyweight Championship match for this year's WrestleMania. And as far as these 4 matches are concerned, I'm not very. It doesn't wow me at all. It's not. To me, it's not an ideal card thus far. But I'll probably discuss that in the next edition of next segment of TW Wrestling Talk in the near future. Because before I get to that, since there's weeks to talk about it until WrestleMania, talk about the card. Before that, I want to talk about a couple things that are buzzing through people's heads after this past Monday night on Raw. First of all, that's the opening segment was rather interesting with Paul Heyman and Vince McMahon, that supposed fight. But what it really paved the way for was Brock Lesnar to come out and Triple H essentially to come out and essentially make it clear that this rematch between Triple H and Brock Lesnar that some people figured would happen is going to happen. I think it's inevitable now. That's the direction that WWE is going in. And I'm not in favor of this. Obviously, I've been on record for months saying that I'd rather see Lesnar perhaps face The Undertaker at WrestleMania, that I don't want to see a Brock Lesnar and Triple H rematch, because I'm pretty sure the outcome is in Triple H's favor for this rematch. I don't see why they would have Triple H, come back and then lose to Brock Lesnar a second time. I just don't, you know, I don't see that happening. But they had this interesting brawl where Brock Lesnar, a lot of people are talking about, how Brock Lesnar was bleeding all over the place after getting knocked into the steel pole by Triple H. There's, this is one of these situations where people are wondering, oh, was that real, or was that planned? And I just want to say that most likely, Brock Lesnar was planned to bleed. But and I say that because the second time when Triple H, kind of threw Brock Lesnar into the pole, um, immediately you hear Michael Cole calling that Brock Lesnar's been busted open, that he's bleeding or whatever. And if you look, if you're watching the footage at that point, it's like boom, his head goes off the pole. Michael Cole's immediately saying he's bleeding. And how could you tell, at that point in time? Because if you look at the footage, it's not like at that point he's bleeding everywhere. It's not like it's obvious to the viewers at that particular moment in time, that Brock Lesnar is bleeding. So I'm pretty convinced that, considering Michael Cole called it right away, when clearly you couldn't necessarily tell whether he's bleeding or not. And that just leads me to believe that this extra blood, well, this overabundance of blood was, you can't convince me that was, an accident. The way Michael Cole just seemed to knew, like, right away as he was bleeding. When I couldn't tell until, a little while later. I'm thinking, oh, he's bleeding. Well, I can't see from here, but so it seemed like a planned event to me for him to bleed. And a lot of people are talking about this because it's, it pushes the PG envelope. Um, you know, but Triple H has been said to have wanted a more, you know, not PG less product, but a little edgier product in the future. And I think this is just an example of that direction. Now, whether or not, however much, perhaps Lesnar bladed, that maybe factors into it. Um, and I'm not ruling out the possibility that this was, a real, that a real accident. Um, Somewhat there was a report out, no DQ .com reported that that Lesnar's head rang off a screw of the pole, but I just don't totally I'm not totally convinced that that's what happened. Um, I just think, however he bladed, whatever the case was, it just, for some, it made an awful lot of blood appear. That's the bottom line. But I don't quite think this was real. And people say how, you know, um, the cameras were like trying to shy away from capturing this footage, and that doesn't mean anything. That, oh, it must be real then, um, because it's just because, he's bleeding all over the place, and they avoid that. They can they can avoid that anyways. Even if it's planned, they can still plan something out like this and still choose to kind of not make it right in the view of the camera. I mean, it's as simple as that. Um, they can get away with you know make causing these bloody situations and make it known to the viewers at home while they don't show it so much. So that's all I have to say there. I mean, yeah, I mean that's I don't know. I don't think there was a real life a real accident where Brock Lesnar is really bleeding. Um, I don't know, but I just thought that was an interesting topic. Coming out of this past Monday's Brawl. Um, Another thing I wanted to talk about was this main event match with CM Punk and John Cena. Um, I think it's amazing. Because after this match, so many people are praising this match, and I don't quite understand why. Um, there wasn't anything about this match really that set it apart from any past CM Punk and John Cena matches, unless you want to count John Cena winning. But people are saying this was such a great match, and it really, to me, it wasn't. And I'm not just saying that because John Cena won and because it was predictable. I mean, that's definitely, unfortunate. But the thing I notice about a match like this and, some other recent CM Punk and Cena matches is that it seemed like there's so much emphasis on the finishers and not just actual wrestling, I think. It seems like a lot of times these Cena matches um, seem like in the last 5 to 10 minutes, they seem like, you know, just finisher attempts and, you know, a move here and there, but mainly finisher attempts. And, it's, to me, that doesn't constitute, um, great match. There's a time and place for, you know, interesting situations where there's finishers getting reversed back and forth, attempting finishers, but um, I think there's a little too much reliance here. I also want to mention how there were like a few different moves, I guess, that these guys don't normally pull off. John Cena did a Batista bomb essentially. Um, Jerry Lawler and Michael Cole seemed to go crazy over it. CM Punk did a pile driver. They seemed to go crazy over it. Again, the multiple the finishers and kicking out of them, they went crazy about, and it was predictable that they were gonna kick out of their first finishers on each other, and I mean they just they played up too much. And then, of course, before the very end of the match, there was a John Cena pulls out a Hurricanrana, um, and I might add botches it pretty, pretty bad. He goes down, he like lands on the back of his head. Um, I mean, it clearly, you could clearly tell that it was not quite in John Cena's comfort zone. But it's funny to me how people praise him for attempting it. People praise the Cena's performance, especially in this match, when outside a botched Hurricanrana attempt, and a Batista bomb, the way that Cole and King, have to play this up, for John, they play it up as if he never does anything interesting in his matches. I mean, listen to this right here. Right when he nails he botches this Hurricanrana. Let's see here. I mean, come on. listen to how much they have to play up. When John Cena does something a little, out of the ordinary of because John Cena is like stuck in this same realm of every match, and I don't understand it. Um, people praise him for a performance like this, but it's like I think to myself, why isn't John Cena, mixing it up and innovating on a frequent basis? Um, and I've seen people say how, you know, oh, if John Cena has the right people to work with, he could work a good match. And I'm thinking, well, okay, CM Punk's a great ring worker, but that doesn't mean that, when John Cena's facing a guy like David Otunga, he can't. How come then he doesn't pull out stuff like this? Um, why can't he? Why don't we see him at other times pull out a Hurricanrana, a successful one for that matter, and not a botched one? Um, it's. I mean, the thing, it came off as a forced kind of thing where, WWE, whatever it is, where, John Cena's got to impress everybody. He's got to pull off like a Hurricanrana. He's got to do a Batista bomb. Of course, they didn't, call it that way. But the King and Cole just, I don't understand. They have to. It's like they have to play it up so much, for John Cena. It's like they have to get him over for this upcoming match. Um, you know, against The Rock. This dubbed this twice in a lifetime, and it doesn't. To me, it only taints the product more. Um, it taints the match a little bit. There was nothing great about this match really. Um, especially when and I've seen this before when John Cena's laying outside the ring, seemingly unconscious. The ref's about to count him out. He counts 9, and then suddenly, whoo! This boost of energy. He quicks getting the ring like he wasn't like he didn't appear to be laying conscious, out on the floor. And then he gets in the ring quick, and then boom! It's like he passes out, and it really makes matches. It really makes this product um, look uncredible. Not very credible at all. His mannerisms, the whole 9 yards. And people say how this was, a great match, and I don't, and it's things like this that really taint that idea. And it's pretty obvious now he's probably going to go on to win. I don't see how he doesn't win this match at WrestleMania. So, it's things like these that, when you put it all together, it doesn't look great. It doesn't sound great. In the long run, it's not great. And it just boggles my mind how much, they seem to have, King and Cole play up for John Cena. I mean, I don't know. It's I found it funny how they were playing them up, and I just find it funny in general how King and Cole play things up. Um, you know, like, oh, this is gonna be such a great match, and oh, this is amazing. Look, tout and all this stuff. Um, and speaking of tout, they got this social media smackdown coming up. I'm gonna discuss at some point in the near future. I'm also gonna discuss social media in WWE because that's becoming an issue certainly. Um, as we wrap up this segment of TW Wrestling Talk, I'm gonna be talking that at some point. I'm gonna be addressing um a problem to me. Uh, what is a problem to me, um, and I think many would agree with the whole social media thing, perhaps going too far in the WWE. And along with that, I said earlier, how this WrestleMania card is shaping up. Um, can look for that to pop up in TW Wrestling Talk discussion in the near future as well. But again, just to recap the bottom line here, the point I'm getting at here with this whole Cena and CM Punk match. Um, don't be fooled um, about how this whole wrestling skill thing is with John Cena. And it, you know every now and then it's nice to see him pull out a new unique move. But I think the way that King and Cole play it up, and it just goes to show you how on a far more consistent basis is John Cena, not mixing things up in the ring, going through this same old tired routine. So when he does very so often, every now and then pull out like a Hurricanrana attempt, keyword attempt, um, every now and then when he does something like that, it just people want to go crazy over it. They want to overhype it. And it's funny because here he attempted it and he kind of botched it, and it made for sort of a silly TV. How how King and Cole just seem to pretend to ignore it, seem to pretend that it wasn't botched. um they just want to play it up like it's this amazing thing they've never seen before, like this James Bond moment. So that'll do it for this segment, edition, whatever you want to call it, of TW Wrestling Talk. Um, Hope to have more in sometime this week. So stay tuned for what's next to come with TW Wrestling Talk.